Today I want to take a look at Absolute Preacher, volumes 1 through 3, the complete deal. Now, these are the beautiful slip-cased Absolute DC editions. If you haven't seen those, check them out. I'll show scans here, of course. Volume 1 is 736 pages. It's got $150 retail. You can easily find these for around $87 discounted. And they're available on InStockTrades.com right now. Volume 1 is, I should say. Volume 2 and Volume 3 are not showing up there as available at this time, but they are showing up on cheapgraphicnovels.com. And I'm pretty sure this is one of those evergreen titles that DC is going to keep the print run current. So it'll probably pop back on IST, but you can certainly get 2 and 3 on Cheap Graphic Novels as of the time of this shooting. So now their discounts are a little bit less than IST's, so it's like $89 there instead of $87. But pretty good chunk of a discount. Now Volume 2 has 720 pages, same retail price $150, and Volume 3 has the same page count as Volume 1 does, 736, $150. So these are, if you were crazy enough to buy these at full retail, you're looking at $450 plus tax. But come on, nobody smart enough to watch this channel is going to do that, right? So the creators on this are Garth Ennis writing and Steve Dillon doing the art. Now there are a couple of specials in here that have different artists, but primarily most of this whole thing and all the scans I'm going to run are by Steve Dillon, the interior scans. Now, the painted covers are all done by Glenn Fabry. I believe is how you pronounce that. Could be wrong on that one. But yeah, they're just spectacular. The inside art, Steve Dillon, great artist who will be missed. He died in 2016, unfortunately. But having his beautiful artwork in this large format, near original size art format, is a real treat. The painted covers by Glenn Fabry are fabulous as well. I've got several of them you'll be seeing scrolling through here. Now, to the non-comic book reading public, I would imagine Garth Ennis is most famous for The Boys, because the TV series on that. Now, I haven't read his original Boys comic book yet. Probably going to. I know that one's really controversial, and a lot of people say that the TV show on that one is actually better than the book. But I won't comment yet because I haven't seen either. But Preacher I have read, and I love it. Now, Garth Ennis, what I also know him from is some really good Punisher runs he did. Now, one thing about Garth Ennis is, no spoiler here, and no surprise, is that he is a well-known atheist, and he also hates superheroes. So that's kind of interesting. Steve Dillon, I haven't seen a lot of his art beyond some of the Punisher stuff he did with Garth and this Preacher saga, and I just love it. Some people say, I've heard some people say what I thought was just a bizarre comment that, Steve Dillon's fine, but his art doesn't need to be displayed, need to be this large, and I'm fine with it in smaller formats. I don't know where they get that, because I think this guy is fabulous. So as far as contents, what you're getting here is the entire Vertigo series. It's collected across the 3 books. So this is issue 1 all the way to 66 where it ended. Plus you've got some specials, the Saint of All Killers, the story of You Know Who, The Good Old Boys, and Blood and Whiskey. So it's the complete Preacher saga, including all the extras and all the specials. I would probably say that this is more plot-driven than character-driven, although there are some fabulous characters in here. So I think I can kind of review this and talk about it without giving too much away. And as far as my scans, I've chosen more scans from the first volume than I have the second and third. So I'm not going to get too spoilery with the samples I'm showing you here. The characters are unforgettable and fabulous. You've got the Reverend Jesse Custer is the main guy, and his gunslinging girlfriend is Tulip, and he is what turns out to be his best friend is an Irish vampire. And man, this thing is crazy. It's adult. I would kind of characterize this as a Southern fairy tale for adults. You know, it's hyper violent. It's profane, and probably the best word to describe this thing is blasphemous. There is some things depicted in here involving the Christian God and Jesus that I mean, I enjoyed reading it and thought it was hilarious. But even me, I'm not going to repeat that here. I'm just not going to say it. You read it yourself. I'm not going to say it out loud. I mean, I have doubts about religion and God and things, but I'm not sure enough of my doubts to test it right here. That's what I'm telling you. But there's Nazis, crazy Nazis, and man, I mean, if you see some of my other videos, especially the one with the Namor the Submariner by John Byrne, man, that's one of my favorite things to see is Nazis being beaten and killed. It's very entertaining for me. I love it. There's a voodoo. There's all kinds of magic. There's, like I said, ultra violence, a lot of gunplay. I mean, it's nearly indescribable without giving away the awesome plots involved here. But suffice it to say, it involves a lot of angels and demons and stuff that's in between, and it's something else. Like I said, it's definitely not for kids. This is a very adult title, and I loved it. I just loved it. So Jesse Custer is this reverend, and he finds out that he has this power where he can, and this is probably as much plot as I'm going to give away here, he can basically speak and compel people to do whatever he says. And he takes this as the voice of God, basically. And it kind of sort of is. All is revealed in the plot of this thing, but I'm not going to tell you here, well, what the source of that is and why he has it, but it's really something. There's even the ghost of John Wayne is a character here, so that's pretty different. And it's kind of a road trip movie, too. It's almost like a road trip film, you know, because it involves this long journey and this quest. And, man, like I said, it's a little dark, it's violent, and it's just a ton of fun. It really is. If you're okay with blasphemous fun and ultra violence, then you're probably going to love this. I certainly did. I'm not going to get too far off topic, but I do have to talk about my cousin Elmo, which he actually stopped by the library and he let me talk to him about Preacher, and I got his reaction seeing the Absolute editions for the first time. So my cousin Elmo he's a guy that introduced me to Preacher, actually. And he's not really a comic book guy. He's read some comics, but he doesn't collect or anything like that. And he's certainly not obsessed with it to the degree I am, and a lot of my viewers are, certainly. So by that definition, he's kind of a great glimpse into non-comic book people, how they accept a comic book. So I thought it was interesting to bring him on a little bit and get his perspective on this. And he's also quite a character. Now, a little quick background on this, and I won't spend too much time on it because I'm not sure you guys care too much about my life, but beyond the books. But Elmo, I met him at my work, at my day job, many years ago, decades ago, well, almost 30 years ago. Anyway, we didn't know we were related. It always felt like we were brothers. We felt closer than just work buddies, you know. And a few years ago, we both got a good deal on the Ancestry.com kits. We found them discounted somewhere, and me and him and another friend of mine, we all took them at the same time. We all did the thing and sent it off. And I'm looking through my relatives, my genetic hits, and right there on the first page is Elmo. So all this time, we're cousins and never knew it. All that time, you know, decades had passed. So that was pretty cool. So now I kind of jokingly refer to him as Cousin Elmo. But anyway, I'm going to let you take a look at it's about 13 minutes, me talking to Cousin Elmo here and him talking about Preacher, and I get to get his reaction on video of seeing these beautiful Absolute editions. He gifted me the trade paperbacks, but he'd never seen these beautiful hardcovers. So we'll go to that now.
Okay, and the long-awaited visit with Cousin Elmo. This is the guy that introduced me to Preacher, because I didn't know nothing about it. I skipped most of the 90s and came back in like early 2000s, but by then, this had already wrapped up, and you had, what was it, like 16 trade paperbacks?
Probably.
I think
that's about right. I think that's about right.
So naturally, I read those, and years later, I got these awesome Absolute editions. Of course, I sold your trade paperbacks because you didn't want them back anyway.
No, I gave them. I gave them.
Yeah. So already a blasphemous storyline. And in case you didn't get the joke, these look exactly like
Old school Bible.
Yeah, old school expensive Bibles. And you've never seen this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen anything like this with Preacher.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed with the quality of the book and the artwork that's inside, the way they laid this out. This is cool.
The only way it can be more biblical is if they put gold leaf on the page edges.
True.
I'm surprised they didn't do that.
True.
Yeah.
And even got the little bookmark.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody burning in hell, people. I'm telling you, somebody burning in hell. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
And speaking of that, we're joking, but unlike this heathen who has lots of doubts, you're a man of faith, and so how do you enjoy a work like this and believe, as deeply as you do, and that not be a problem for you? Because I've heard people, in the comics community, it's like, well, I can't read Preacher because of my faith. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, for me personally, I'm able to separate the two: my faith in Jesus Christ and entertainment. All right, it's kind of like to me, it's kind of like somebody that's deeply into literature, the real good, like Shakespeare and things like that, and then in their downtime, they read some kind of tabloid magazine, just like a dessert, So
guilty pleasure.
Yes, that's what I was looking for, guilty pleasure. So this is the same thing to me. Everybody's faith is individual. Now I will say there was only a couple of things in there that I found cringeworthy for me, and I thought, oh, these guys, I got an answer for a lot of things for myself. These cats going to end up answering for a lot of things that they did.
And not to speak ill of the dead or wonder about where he is, but I don't know if you do, but Steve Dillon died a few years ago.
No, I did not.
Artist, so he's gone.
See, so the thing is with me and things that grab me, as a kid I was into comic books like everybody else. Unlike being into Marvel a lot and DC, just being in those camps and stuff, I geared myself I was more towards like Tales from the Crypt, those type of comic books. I like those, the horror genre and things of that nature. Those are the things that I really enjoyed. But as I got older, I tended to drift away like you did and things like that. So for a book, a movie, a comic book, the cover usually ends up having to grab me. Okay, so I happen to be in a Snooks, and the very first issue was there, and we don't have a copy of the cover of that magazine. No.
Well, there were variants, so I don't really know which.
I don't either, but it's just something about that cover that grabbed me.
Would it have been Snooks? I mean, because since it's Vertigo, would they?
It was.
It had to be a comic shop, I guess.
Well, yeah. I very seldom went into a comic shop.
Or a bookstore, maybe a bookstore.
Might have been a bookstore.
Maybe it was a Books A Million or a Barnes & Noble.
I think it was that when we had bookstores back in the day.
We've lost a lot around here. But
that is true.
But,
So I would see a art cover, and I go, "Ooh, that looks pretty interesting." And so I would open it up and I flip through. I go, "You know what? I think I'm going to get this and give it a try." And then the very first installment, I was hooked. I go, "I got to check this out." So I was reading them, and I figured my cousin Larry here, my brother by another mother, would really enjoy this. So I gave it to him, and he goes, "Man, this is pretty good." He was kind of blasphemous. Somebody's in trouble. It's like, I know, but
Well, there's no guidance. This is like,
well,
you know,
exactly.
if an entertainment can send you to hell, then you're in hell.
Right. But I did like the storyline. I like the concept. I always
Well, and
liked,
it being sort of a southern fairy tale, that probably really appealed to you too, I bet.
it did. It did. I've always been drawn towards the inner conflict of somebody, the good versus the evil and stuff like that. And I think that's the one thing that kind of first grabbed me about Preacher and stuff like that. He's complex.
Yeah,
He's got
it's,
issues.
I'm trying to remember which I've seen. Well, it would have been Dogma. I seen Dogma before I read this. So anyway, Dogma is probably it's definitely my favorite Kevin Smith movie. And I seen that before I read Preacher. And obviously Kevin Smith read Preacher. Because I mean, the savage angels just butchering each other, done so well in the movie. But so who did it better, you think, Kevin Smith or Garth Ennis?
Kevin Smith.
Savage.
Right. I would have to say that just because of the
Matt Damon and I don't know if you knew, and I'll put a link down in the doobly-doo if somebody wants to learn about that. But the weird situation with Dogma, you can't get Dogma now.
No, I know.
Do you know why?
I have no
Spoiler for the video that I'll put a link to. It sort of got Weinsteined. Because, Weinstein bankrolled...
Is he the one that bankrolled that?
Well, most of Kevin Smith's early films, the Weinstein Group.
Right.
And so they owned it. And when all that... Well, the movie had just sat there for a long time. I won't go into this too much, but there was talk of him. He got offered to do a sequel and bring it back out, and it was like 2 weeks before all the news broke about Weinstein's proclivities, and and Kevin Smith didn't want anything to do with that after he found out what Weinstein had been doing,
Right.
and wanted to distance himself, and for good reason, and he was just like, he looked at that call as something to sort of get Kevin Smith on his side before the news broke.
Right.
Because, Weinstein had to know he was going down at that point. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I would have thought so.
The world found out he was already in deep doo-doo, yeah.
Dude, like my pappy always said, he goes, "Boy, don't you ever do anything that you think somebody ain't going to find out about. They might not find out tomorrow, next week, next year, but at some point somebody's going to find out about this."
And it being a massive, rich media mogul, to think you could get away with that.
And I ain't the best looking cat in the world, but that SOB's ugly. I mean, he is ugly. He'd been better off getting a hooker.
Well,
I think people have been more forgiving, to be quite honest about it.
well,
It is crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah, now the world knows he's ugly in the inside. He's uglier on
Right.
the inside than he was outside.
Here's something I don't understand is, can he go back and buy those from him?
Well, I think he's out of the Weinstein Group now, and I think it's even changed names again. And yeah, I think it could happen. And at one time, Kevin Smith explored maybe trying to buy it all back, and then he just kind of left it, after all that blew up, and he just disgusted by the whole situation. But yeah, I think he could, because the group still exists. I don't think it's called Weinstein Group anymore, but anyway. But yeah, but this, just take a look at this. Because this is almost as large as it was drawn at. Most comics are done on like 11 by 17
Right.
postal board. But yeah, I think it's the ultimate way to get it. And this has been printed in every format imaginable, from comics, trade paperbacks, standard size hardcovers, this thing, omnibuses.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the absolutes are bigger than an omnibus. If
Right.
you've never seen one before, but yeah, and this, with being a relatively modern book, this goes from end to end. It's full bleed. Whereas, like, you know, when something's collected from the 70s, there'll be
Right.
this border. There'll be
Right.
sometimes a substantial big gap right here where there's no art. But this just goes all the way from top to bottom. And it's good quality paper. I love it. But
Yeah, they did some excellent work on this and the way they made that. I like the whole concept. I mean, look, if you're gonna take yourself to hell in gasoline drawers, you might as well go. You might as well go all the way. They should. I think they kind of. I'm like you. I think they skipped. They should have went with the gold.
yeah, that would be
Gold
probably
leaf.
the only way it would be any better. But look what they chose for the covers here. For the slip. That. I don't know. I had to use the webcam audio here because I don't have a pro mic other than my headset, and that's not going to work with two people. So hopefully this isn't too shrill for you guys to listen to. But and there's your naked angels there. Yeah, you can take a look at where it is. Go ahead.
Man, I love that artwork.
Yeah, the all these painted covers are by, I think his name's Glenn Fabry. Not sure if that pronunciation's right. He did all the covers, all the painted covers, and then all the inside is Steve Dillon, which works really good because, you know, sometimes they use two different artists and it sucks, you know, the juxtaposition.
Absolute preacher.
Anyway, not gonna keep you forever, but just wanted to get your reaction to these killer absolutes.
I do like those. That is a good way to have a good set.
The gold leaf here is really awesome.
That is.
Yeah, I'm real happy with them. I think it was worth the money.
I'm almost afraid to ask. What this?
Yeah,
Did you get it as a set or did you get them one at a time?
I got one at a time. Yeah, I don't think they ever packaged them together.
Oh, they did?
I guess too big, high of a price point. I think I ended up paying like $78 a volume.
Oh, that's not bad.
Well, now,
I figured it'd been like
the retail
more,
on it is, I think it's like
$125.
probably on here. Yeah, it's probably $125. But see, almost nobody.
Sells retail.
Well, the regular bookstores try to, but all the big discounters usually give you 40 to 50% off, somewhere in that range normally.
$150
$150, okay, and that's per
US.
book. Yeah. So I've got these at nearly 50% off when I got them. That discount has actually eroded a little bit in the last couple of years. So
Oh, yeah.
but it was 50. Everything was always 50 at most of
Oh,
the
that's
big discounters. But yeah, now I think they've shrank to like between 38 and 47. You know, depending. But anyway. That's what we got. The only thing I never can decide is if I want to put them on the shelf like that or like that. And I ended up doing this with that on the outside.
I don't know, man. If it was
They're both
me, I
awfully
think
awesome.
if it was me, I think I'd do it like that. I mean, if your heathenistic ass is going to go, you might as well go all the way too. I'm just going to throw that out there for you.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by the library. I know you've seen it in various stages, but you haven't seen it in all its glory yet.
No, I haven't, because you're constantly updating it. I like it. I really do.
All right. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks.
So that was fun. I hope you guys liked that clip. And if you want to see more Cousin Elmo, let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, this is a 10 for me, for sure. This saga, 10 out of 10. It's a violent adult fairy tale. That's how I sort of look at it. And some of it is really, really over the top. Almost too much. It goes right to the edge of too much, and it sort of dives over a little bit. Yeah. And I think you could say that about a lot of Garth Ennis stuff. So let me know if you've read Preacher and what you think about the thing as a whole, and what form do you have it in? Do you have these absolutes? Do you have the trades? Do you have the singles? Sound off in the comments, and let's hear what you think about that. Next Monday, I'm going to be back with Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 2. I've never read that material before in any form. Didn't have the singles in that, so that'll be interesting. So that'll be next Monday. Come on back for that. And if you like this stuff, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, and please, by all means, subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss more of this crazy content. So, see ya.